All right, let's talk about something that's a huge deal for any organization with a project management office, or PMO. We're diving into a really fundamental shift in how PMOs can create actual, noticeable value. It's all about making that big move from being the rigid, process-focused police to becoming a genuine strategic partner.
So let's just start with a question that gets right to the heart of it all. Seriously, take a second and think about your own organization. Is your PMO seen as a critical partner that's helping everyone win? Or are they kind of seen as the enforcers, the ones chasing you down about rules and templates? The answer to that question usually tells you everything you need to know. And that feeling, that tension, it points directly to this really common struggle that we see everywhere, the PMO's identity crisis. Way too often, they're stuck in this endless battle, just trying to prove their worth more than administrative tasks and policing project plans.
So what's the root of the problem? Well, it's all about perception. You see, when a PMO looks like it cares more about its own fancy processes and tools than it does about real business results, it just gets slapped with that label, bureaucratic cost center. It feels totally disconnected from what the organization actually needs and the real pain points people are dealing with.
Okay, so how do we fix this? How do we break that cycle? The very first, and I mean the most critical step, is to completely rethink who the PMO is there to serve. It all starts by figuring out who your true customers really are. First things first, we need a really sharp definition of customer. A PMO customer isn't just some random person who's vaguely affected by a project. Nope. They are the specific people who directly receive, use, or get a real benefit from what the PMO provides. The relationship is direct, it's hands-on. And this brings up a really important but sometimes tricky distinction: the difference between customers and stakeholders. Here's the deal. All of your customers are stakeholders, for sure, but not all stakeholders are your customers. For example, think about an IT lead who uses the PMO's mentoring program. That person is a direct customer. Now, a store manager whose store will be affected by that IT project. They're a stakeholder, absolutely, but they aren't directly using the PMO's services. Focusing on the customer is the game changer. So who are these customers? Well, they usually fall into a few clear groups. You've got your project and program managers, of course. They're often the #1 users of PMO support. But you've also got executives who are hungry for strategic insights, portfolio managers who need help sorting out priorities, and even team members and functional managers who count on the PMO to keep everything coordinated. Each one of them has totally unique needs.
Understanding who you're serving is step one. The next part is building a whole philosophy around it. And that means you have to adopt a completely new set of customer-centric principles. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. The old way of doing things, a PMO trying to justify its budget by showing off its perfect templates or its super detailed methodology, that's just dead. It doesn't work anymore. Today, value is defined by the customer, period, not by the person providing the service. These 6 principles right here, this is your new foundation. It all kicks off with a customer-first mindset. And when you have that, you naturally start focusing on value delivery, not just checking boxes. It pushes you to create customized experiences because you know one size doesn't fit all. You start proactively interacting to get ahead of problems, measuring success based on what your customer thinks is a win, and then you build feedback loops for continuous improvement. It all connects. When you really embrace those principles, something big has to change. You have to fundamentally shift the entire conversation away from what you do and start talking about what you deliver. In other words, you have to move from services to outcomes. The old school approach is just completely broken. You know what I'm talking about. The PMO that comes with a menu of its services. Here, would you like a risk management workshop? Or maybe some status reporting? It puts all the pressure, all the burden of knowledge, right onto the customer. And to see just how silly that is, imagine this. You go to the doctor because you're in pain, and they just hand you a big list of drugs and say, "So, which one do you want?" It's ridiculous, right? You're not the expert. You just know you have a problem that needs to be solved. This is where the PMO needs to start acting like a good doctor. Before you even think about offering a solution, your first job is to listen, to ask questions, and to diagnose the specific pain. What's tripping them up? What's getting in the way of their success? It's only after you have that diagnosis that you can prescribe the right medicine. And in the PMO world, that medicine isn't a service, it's the outcome the service creates. Your customer doesn't actually want portfolio management. What they want is better project prioritization. They want to be more aligned with our strategy. That's the cure.
This focus on outcomes is literally the key to unlocking real, measurable value. And the good news is, we actually have a powerful tool that can help PMOs figure out exactly what outcomes their customers are looking for.
So this isn't just a guess. There's been a ton of research looking at PMOs all over the world. Different industries, different countries, different company sizes, and it has basically boiled down a complete list of the outcomes that customers consistently say they value the most.
After looking at all that data from countless PMOs, this is the number they found: 30. 30 distinct, valuable outcomes. Think of them as 30 different cures a PMO can deliver to solve a customer's pain and prove its worth once and for all.
And these outcomes cover a massive range of needs. I mean, just look at the variety here. Some are quick wins, short-term stuff like increased visibility of project progress. Others are more medium-term goals, like better project prioritization. And then you've got the big, long-term strategic game changers, like achieving a higher return on investment. Using a list like this lets a PMO have a real outcome-focused conversation to figure out what really, truly matters to their customers.
So, when a PMO actually does this, when it really makes that shift to diagnosing pain and delivering value, well, the payoff is enormous. It's how you transform from being seen as a cost center into an absolutely essential strategic partner. First, you create value that everyone can see. Take this example from a manufacturing company. The executives' pain was that they couldn't see how all the projects actually connected to the company's strategy, so the PMO diagnosed that, and they delivered the outcome of strategic clarity. And the result? A 25% jump in strategically aligned projects. Now that is a number that gets the C-suite's attention. Second, you build incredibly strong relationships. At this tech firm, the PMO saw that new project managers were really struggling. So instead of just cracking the whip on processes, they created a mentorship program. This focus on making their customers successful built an incredible amount of trust and led to a mind-blowing 40% improvement in project success. The PMO became a true partner.
And finally, you guarantee your own relevance. You future-proof your PMO. By constantly listening to its customers, this PMO and financial services realized that some of the things they were offering were totally obsolete. So they cut those services, redirected the resources to what people actually needed, and not only saved $500,000 a year, but proved they were an innovative, vital part of the company's future.
So we end up right back where we started, but now with a totally new way of looking at it. The journey from process police to strategic partner, it all begins with one simple action: listening. The ultimate question for any PMO that wants to transform isn't what services can we offer, it's much simpler. It's what customer pain will we solve first.